Hi everyone, this is Sean Ismail from the Cloud Ranger, and you are viewing the Microsoft Azure training. Today is the part 8 of Azure websites, and this is going to be the most likely the last part of the Azure websites series. Uh, and our session today is on Azure website diagnostics and monitoring. I'm going to spend a lot of time in the diagnostics part and not a whole lot in the monitoring, but I'll definitely show you what's there available in the Azure websites from Microsoft regarding both diagnostics and monitoring. It's not going to be a very deep concept session. There's going to be more hands-on, like most of our other sessions. Okay, so let's get started. Microsoft has spent quite some time understanding how to identify failures, or performance, bottlenecks, and things like that from the on-premise implementations like IIS and things like that. They have brought some of this to the cloud infrastructure in Azure websites. And additionally, due to the other challenges as well as other benefits of being on the cloud, they have introduced other ways to provide diagnostics and monitoring in that environment. All right, so let's get started first with the Azure Website Diagnostics. What do we need to know about the diagnostics is the diagnostic log files that can be generated and stored for Azure websites or web applications. So some of these things might sound familiar right away based on how we have IIS today and how diagnostic logins and everything are done there. So some of these things are right off the bat from implementation from the on-premise environments. So we have two kinds of logs. One is the site diagnostic logs, and the other one is application diagnostic logs. Okay, in site diagnostic logs, we have web server logging, and these are basic web server, the HTTPS events on a website. It's on a W3C format, but these are basic HTTP events, and these are present in IIS as well. And then we have the detailed error messages. So these are information of things like HTTP 400 and above logs. So error 400, error 401, 500. So anything that's above 400 and higher would be part of this detailed error messages. And then we have failed request tracing. So failed request tracings are things that when you need to isolate some sort of failure that's happening in the system, and you need to get into detailed traces and find out at which point this request, these failures are occurring, right? So um, what happens is that failed request tracings can be enabled on your website or web application to actually go through that logs and find out where the problems are. And you need to store all these logs somewhere. So Azure websites actually log them in the website's own file storage, or you can dedicate a blob storage to actually store these logs. But most of the site diagnostic logs, they are almost similar to how you have today on-premise on IIS to look at these logs. The second one we want to talk about is the application diagnostic logs. These are logs that are not out of the box. Well, a hybrid. It's like sort of out of the box, and sometimes based on your web applications logic, you might need these logs to be generated based on certain tracing codes that your web developer will put in place. So if you have a web logic where it needs to go and connect to a database and do something, you might have the web developer have a tracing code in there, which will go and find out that first if it could connect to the server, if it connected to the server, detailed, the details on if what kind of data it got, and if it was successfully able to, query and get the results. So these are kind of tracing codes that your developer will put in place following some sort of a paradigm to make sure that logs are generated, which will be helpful for you to resolve any issues if certain ones come up in the future. So there are a few log levels that are provided here by Microsoft Azure, and what happens is these logs will determine that how serious these are, right? It's no different from what we know about Microsoft in general with the log levels. There is an error warning, information, and verbose level when it comes to the application diagnostic logs. And based on how your developer considers one of these events, he or she will categorize that. So for example, if the website is not able to connect to a database, it will right away be an error, and it'll be provided as an error event, or it could be a warning or information depending on how your developer customizes and writes that piece of code. Okay, and as usual, this needs to be stored somewhere, and it's stored in the website's file storage or Azure's blob storage. And with application diagnostics logs, you can also have Azure's table storage. We did not talk about table storage or anything like that much yet. But we'll have that in a different series. But it can go and basically write this error logs to a table storage, which is more like a um, lack of words here, but it's more of organized data in a database. So what will happen is that those logs can be queried, um, just like how SQL databases are, right? I mean, it's organized in a certain way. It can be queried. It's more structured. So the same goes over here with application diagnostic logins. They can store that in Azure table storage, so those data can be, analyzed, and you know there might be reports or something that needs to be generated. But those are the two categories of the website logs that we'll be talking about: the site diagnostic logs and application diagnostic logs. So let's not spend more time talking here. Let's jump on my client system and go to my subscription, and let's look at a website and how we can start enabling some of these log files and later retrieving and viewing this. Okay. All right, so I am logged into my subscription here. Let's go to browse everything. I'm in the preview portal, as you can see. So I have already, in essence, keeping of, just to, make sure that this doesn't take a lot of time. I've already created these websites here. Ranger 001, this is the website, and let's go in there. It's a basic website that I just created, and you know by now already how to do this from my previous sessions. Um, if you don't, go back and view one of those where we talk about that. And let's see. All right, so Ranger 001, I have already gone and published a little bit of data there, which just says hello world. Nothing, this is a basic HTML file. There's not a whole lot that's going on in this website. So I want to actually get into how to first enable the logs and take it from there, okay? So the best way to do that is, let's come over here. Let's go to all settings. And in all settings, I want to show you diagnostic logs here. So when you go to diagnostic logs here, you should be able to see a bunch of stuff. So the first thing I want to show here is that there are both application logging and web server logging that are showed over here. There's a little bit of information I have to provide you over here. These are logging that I went and turned on before I started this session. By default, and this is important for your exams and your production as well, by default, when you create a website, this logging is not enabled. They will, for both application as well as web server logging, they all will be off. So you need to turn them on. The reason I turned them on already before the session, because I wanted to generate some log, provide some sort of noise, so I can demonstrate or show you how this is done. That's the only reason I turned them on. But you have to turn them on when you create a website. Otherwise, they'll obviously not be on, and you'll be caught off guard once there is an error or something you need to troubleshoot, only to find out they are not. Okay, so it's important for your exam to remember this as well. But as you can see, the web server logging and application logging, we have them over here. Like we know in web server logging, there will, I mean, we in the the web server logging, which is part of the site diagnostic logging, has web server logging detailed and the failed request, right? Those are the three ones that are there. And then you have the application logging, which is, the one I talked about where you can put custom trace codes by your developer and things like that. So in application logging, there are also those error warning information and verbose. Those are also the different levels that we are trying to log. This is a very basic website. I have not really done except writing a default.html page with hello world. So there's not a whole lot going on, but your application, this is just basic website, but your application might be more complex, and application logging might be very important for you there. So this is important, or one of those important features that you might require for your web application, all right? So the thing that I wanted to show you over here is that once this application logging and everything are turned on and they're generated, they're actually stored in your Azure websites. And there are ways to go and, there are places that they are stored in, and there are ways that you can use. I mean, there are different things you can do to retrieve these logs. So let's find out that where exactly these are first stored. So let's close these plates over here. Microsoft recently moved this over here, but now the console for the websites is here. So you go to Tools, and then you go to Console here, and it will open up the console. Okay. So I want to show you the file system where it is at. So it's always in the D drive in the home directory. So the way you do that is CD, which is change directory. I want to go to D drive, and I'm going to go to the home folder. And in home folder, there is another folder called log files. That's where all the log files will be stored. Okay. So these are basically the locations of the log files. Let's clear the screen with CLS, dir, that will show you the directory. So as you can see, that bunch of logs that have been created over here, there are logs for, those are the detailed logs over here, as you can see. Then you have HTTP logs, where we will have the raw logs, and there is the W3SVC. This is where, the web server logging is. So let's go explore the HTTP directory. I'll go over here. As you can see, the raw logs are over here. So let's see the raw logs here. Dir. These are all the raw logs over here that are stored. Let's go back. Go back again to the log files folder. Let's go to the detailed logs here. Detailed errors, actually, sorry. And go over here. These are all detailed errors over here. And then we have I wish auto completion worked here. It doesn't when I press the tab, so I have to type the whole thing. 104.258.4596. Okay, you can see some logs over here as well. So this is actually the one with start with the W3SVC. This is actually the failed request traces that we were talking about, which are part of the site Diagnostic Logs. There is also another folder which will be in here, which will be called application, and we don't see that. This is where your application diagnostic logs are going to be situated in. Okay, so it's important that you view this carefully, because those are the location of all the log files, and they might be a possible exam question. Microsoft is quite notorious when it comes to remembering sometimes where these logs are located, or nuances like this. Okay, and these are where the logs are located, but we will talk momentarily on how to go and retrieve these logs. But before that, what I want to do is that I want to tell you one more thing, which is that you could, rather than using this, you could go and not only view that from there, but you can also go and view them from, let's go to all settings here. Let's go to site diagnostics, or the diagnostic logs here. You could actually go to FTP to your site and see all those logs in those folders or directories as well. Okay, and so that's one way to go and see those, retrieve those logs. The other important thing that Microsoft did was It's called a Site Control Manager, or KUDU, K-U-D-U. So the way you go to the Site Control Manager, and this is quite interesting, is that you go to your website, then you go scm dot. So this is Site Control Manager, and you press enter. And it will take you to this little Kudu services screen over here. This is actually a site extension that's enabled by default for every time you create a website. There's a lot of information you can actually get from here. Like you can look at your app settings, you can look at deployments, look at files. So these are all the JSON REST API stuff for your developers that you can get from here. What we're interested in is going to the Debug Console here and going to CMD. So this is similar to the place I showed you earlier, but you can pretty much do things over here as well. Like you can do a dir, it will show you, all the data log files. The one we are interested in are the log files. The good part over here I like is that you can actually use the tab. So cd w3, if I press tab. So I like this console screen a little bit better. It's like the command console on your Windows operating system, which is pretty neat. Okay. At the same time, over here, you can actually see that you can actually do the browsing from here as well. So if I go to the log files, it's automatically going over here and doing the same thing. Okay. Every time I click on this. So I can go to detailed logs over here. And when I did that, it went to detailed logs here as well. So these are the things that you can do over here. And on the left-hand side icon over here, you will see that you can download these files. Okay, so this is one nice way to go in a graphic user interface and download the logs of your files directly. So Kudu or Site Control Manager SCM is very good at that. If you want to take all the logs and download them together, you can actually go and do something like this, Diagnostic Dump. So when you go and click Go on Tools and do Diagnostic Dump, it takes all the log files, puts them in a zip file, and you can download them for consumption. Okay, so let's go to our desktop and dump that there. Let's open up this zip file. You can see this log files folder, and this almost looks like the same, same hierarchy we were having in on the site over here. So this is one great way to retrieve all those log files as well. And of course, as usual, you can always use PowerShell to do that. So I already have connected to my PowerShell screen over here, and the commandlet that you have to remember, it's called save as your website log. Name of your site, our site name is Ranger001, and you have to output that to ctemp. I'm just putting them in my temp logs. I'm in my temp folder. I'll call it Ranger website logs dot, and it will be a zip file. Okay, so the extension will be a zip file. So when you do that, it basically goes and does the same thing. Okay, max receive site. So let me deal with this in a bit and I'll explain what that does. But this will be same thing as dumping the log files that we did from here. It went and got the entire folder from there for that log file. So this commandlet save as your website log will do the same thing, and it will store that in a local folder that you'll have. So let me sort this issue real quick. All right, so I paused the video and I was trying to look into this error. It looks like there's a little bit of a bug here. And what happened is that when your log files increase, they have a coda, and after that, and this is the coda, after that, you're going to have a hard time downloading these logs with the PowerShell. Seems like the Azure team is aware of this and they're taking a look at that. So I went and deleted some log files and ran the command and save as your website log. And this time it went and downloaded the zip file. And once you go into the zip file, you'll see it's similar to the Kudu's dump log, right? So you could go to the log files here and you can see the HTTP raw logs and all the other logs that were already there. It's similar to the one we were doing here with the diagnostic dump. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the different ways of retrieving all the log files, and you can do this from FTP as well. So you can log into your FTP of the site and use that to download the logs to do that. And this was the SCM dashboard or the Kudu dashboard over here. I think it's a pretty interesting place. So let's click on the environment over here. You can see there's a lot of data that can be found here for your website. It's a pretty nice little nifty little extension that's enabled by default. And you go there by providing your website name .scm.azurewebsites.net. Okay. So there are times when you will find that it's not only about looking at the logs, but you want to look at them near real time or real time. Okay. The reason I say near real time is because I noticed it's not completely real time, even though Microsoft Azure says it is. There is a little bit of a delay when it comes to accessing that. So let's go and see what I'm talking about. So the way you can go, and it's called log streaming, log live streaming, different ways to address that, but mostly log streaming. So you can go to tools over here, and you'll see over here it's called log stream. And once we go over there, it basically brings up a console, and this is supposed to be live. Okay, so there are two logs, like I said, the application logs and the web server logs. So let's go click on the web server logs, and it's a separate one. So let's generate some traffic. So let's go to our website, ranger001.azurewebsites.net. I'm going to just do this. Hello world. And if you come to streaming logs over here, you can see obviously they say it's real time and live, but it takes a little bit of time to get there. So let's do this a couple of times so I can show you. Let's wait a little bit, and there you go. I mean, it just came in right now. It showed that I was getting to the page. So it's almost live. It's not live means not right away, but it's near time live. So the other way to do this live streaming or the live log streaming is with PowerShell. So the command line will be get as your website log, and you want to provide the name of the site, Ranger001, and the commandlet here will be tail. Okay, so let's do tail, and as you can see, it doesn't terminate, it waits, and it tells you you are now connected to the log streaming service, which is good. So this and this should be almost similar right now. So let's go and generate some traffic here. See which one shows up first. Wow, this one went and dumped a bunch of them right away. And there you go. This one is showing you some stuff as well. So these are the log files that you can actually read and find out where the traffic came from, what it was requesting for. 200, as you can see, means it actually replied. I want to show you something over here. 200 HTML code, HTTP code means it was found. Let's do a 401. I know, let's do SDFG, something like that. I know this site is not there, so it should generate a 401 code. So let's wait for it. All right, so this one actually dumped the entire log. As you can see, it says more information, the file directory does not exist. Okay, let's go up over here. It went and dumped that 404 error, not found. This one, let's see over here what happened. 443, for catching up a little bit, 404 over here. As you can see, this is the code, which means the page was not found, right? It's a HTTP 404 not found error. So as you can see, it actually takes the log and kind of throws it in a near time live over here. It's pretty interesting when you're troubleshooting an error and you want to see the errors that are coming through. It takes a couple of seconds, but it gets there. So that's also another way of seeing the live log from there. The streaming logs. You can also view the streaming logs from the Kudu site, the one that I showed you for the site control manager. So that's an interesting place as well. And over here, there was the console. So you have seen that already. They moved that around a little bit. It's now all under tools. And as usual, over here, there was the diagnostic logs. Okay. So I'm going to show you one more commandlet over here where we are going to use the diagnostic log to actually turn them off. Okay. So let's go press Control C here. Sometime works right away. Sometime takes me a little bit of time to cancel this. And it's frozen. Never mind. Let's go ahead and run a new one. Probably pause this one and come back when it's all up. While I was pausing that, this one took a little bit of time, but it showed up. So let's do it over here. So the commandlet I want to show you is set Azure website. And you're basically setting something in the website. So Ranger 001, that's our website. And the one I want to show you is HTTP logging. You need to, we already have it enabled. So I'm going to disable it by putting false. And the request tracing enabled, I want to set this one as false as well. And let's just do that. I think that'll be good. Let's press enter. Waiting for that to happen. Okay, that's done here. Let's go back to our site real quick. Close this, close this. What I have noticed is sometimes it does not show up right away, even though the setting already took place. It's a little buggy. I'm finding this preview web portal to be still buggy a little bit. See, it still shows on, but I know for a fact that they are already turned off. Takes a little bit of time. Anyways, I'm not going to wait for that, but that's how you go and enable or disable the logs from PowerShell. It's one that you have to remember as well. So it looks like we have covered a bunch of stuff. We have covered what are the different type of log files that are there, how do you enable them, where they are located, how do you retrieve them, and we have gone over all the PowerShell point of view of different steps that we have done from the GUI. So that's all I can sort of think of right now when it comes to diagnostics for the sites and how all the data will be there. Take some time, look at some of this data, right? I mean, this might be familiar to some of you already. These are gate commands. So I look at this and I know right away that somebody is looking for a page. It was the default page over here. And then I can see that, there are times where it did not get through. So I can look at this logs, look at the error code 401. So I know it's a HTTP code for when a page is or a resource is not found. All right, so take some time and look into that. Now let's let's go back to our slides actually, and I want to show you some stuff here. So the slides will already have the PowerShell commandlets. I have a little bit more details on the location of log files and things as such. And here is the retrieve log files to PowerShell and streaming logs. So I wanted to let you know that some of the viewers already have requested the PowerPoint slides, and I actually convert and send them to them through email because I don't have any way to put this anywhere yet. So if you need these slides, you don't want to pause and record it or take screenshots or anything like that, send me an email at sean@cloudranger.net. I will send you the slides in a PDF form, zip them all up together for all the sessions. And in the future, I promise I'm going to put a link somewhere where you guys can actually directly go to my blog site and download it from there on each of the sessions, blog post. So you can go and get them directly. So let's go to now Azure monitoring. So when it comes down to monitoring, Microsoft has done quite a bit um, on the both preview portal as well as management portal, where you can see visually a lot of graphs and things like that to view how things are. So if you come to the Ranger website over here, I'm on the preview portal. You can look down here. It has the monitoring graph. Let's go click on that, and you can see uh, the graph show up with all the information here. The one that is showing over here is request and errors. Okay, so there's a lot of metrics that Microsoft actually monitors, or you can monitor depending on what you're trying to do. So let's do this. You can go to the edit chart, as you can see over here. You can see what do you want to see, for example? I want to see the average response time. It's a very important metric when it comes to seeing how the response time of your website is, okay? So I want to see it in for today. Um, bar is good. I want to see the average response time. I don't want to see the HTTP errors and the requests in my graph. Let's do a save. Okay, uh, so the average response time has been, I don't know, 2.6 seconds, and the maximum has been 59. So it depends on what you're trying to look for from your website and things like that. Okay, and there are rules that you can put on this, or there are alerts that you can put on this matrices as well. And I'll get that to you in a bit. But I just wanted to show you that there are a bunch of matrices that can be viewed and displayed from here for you to see how your website is performing. And it might help you to check the performance as well as, this is one of the good ways to find out if your website needs more resources. Okay, so one more thing, and it's one of the most important things that Azure Website Monitoring has. It's called Endpoint Monitoring. So you can't do that from the preview portal. So I go to the management portal and I try to do it from there. So let's go to the web app, and Ranger 001 is our web app here. Once you go in there, go to the dashboard. And in the dashboard, I want to show you, as you can see, this has been up for a while. So I want to go to monitor over here. And what Microsoft has done is that they went and created an endpoint monitoring system. And what endpoint monitoring does is that I am in East US 2 location for my web application. My website is located there. It's part of my app plan, or resource group, which is at East US 2. What Microsoft websites will do is when you enable the endpoint monitoring, it will go up to 2 other locations, geolocations. So it could be Central USA, or it could be somewhere in Asia like Japan, and it will create 2 monitoring entities there who will connect or try to get to your website, which is located at East US 2 for my case, and it will try to find out if it can access the website or not. So let's go to, it's still in preview. So let's go to configure tab over here, and I want to show you this over here. It can only go up to 2 endpoints, okay, not more than that. So in monitoring, I already went and enabled that. Let's actually disable one of this. I was just putting a random name here. Let's go and leave this as test test west. Means it will be from the West USA. So let's go and see what will happen if we can go somewhere in USA, the West Coast, San Jose. Okay, let's go over there. So I'll do a test east, and this one I will do, actually I'll call this test Asia, and I'll go to a location in Asia, for example, in Singapore. Okay, so what I'm basically saying is go to these 2 locations. So Azure will go to these locations, and they will try to come to this website from those 2 locations. Okay, I know for a fact that I have deployed this in EastUS too. So there are numerous benefits for doing this. You want to find out how your customers are going to, I mean, what kind of response your customers are going to get when they are from Asia, or you can see that from East USA. So you can see it's in a preview. So for now you have only 2 locations, but I'm hoping in the future they will show you different locations or give you more, I mean, capabilities of doing this from more locations. And when it monitors from these locations, it will have its own matrices. So you can find out that how people who are coming from Asia, what kind of response, average response time your website is getting, for example. So this is a very nifty tool to have if you have a global site and you are very careful and particular about your performance from all over the place, which you should. We have gone through our previous sessions where we have said that, hey, you could have your website go through a traffic manager and go to different website in different locations. So as you can see, the robustness when it comes to Azure websites, that you can have websites deployed to Asia, deployed to West USA, deployed to East US2 region. You can already do that. And at the same time, you can use something like this to monitor how those performances are. So it's very unique. So I do not want to save this because it takes some time to actually get that report. But how you are supposed to see if everything is working out or not is there's a nice way to do this from the dashboard. Let's go to the dashboard here. And when you go to the dashboard, you will see web endpoint status down here. And it will see that, last it was checked. And these are the 2 locations I had random names that I put in there. Uh, it could be like, test West or test Asia, the ones that I had before, but it will show you how they are looking from there. I think this one was from Singapore or something like that. So, well, it was from San Jose by the looks of it. So you can see it went at different times and it looked at the response time, and based on how your website is. Like I can look at this and I can see, okay, the lower the better, obviously, right? For response time, I know that these are all good. But 1 second, it took 1 second to just load a page like Hello World. Maybe it was not that great. But as you can see that, as it went up, it got better. So that's not too bad, actually. So depending on how your web application is, you might want to go and see that if it is acceptable for you or not. But it's a very unique little tool provided by Azure to monitor this. It's web endpoint status, and that's how you go and set that up from there. I haven't found a way to do this from the preview portal, but that's how you can monitor as well. And as you can see now the dashboard, since I went and took the average response time, which is a pretty neat one. So if you want to go and find out how your website is doing, average response time is a pretty good metric to have, and it's not really that bad. So the last thing I want to show you over here is alerts that you want to set based on matrices. So let's actually close this first. Alrighty, so once that's closed, let's go hit the monitoring here. In monitoring over here, you'll see there is something called as add alert in the tool here. So let's go click on add alert. And what add alert is going to do, my resource is obviously my site. I will say CPU alert. What I'm going to do is, as you can see, there are all these matrices over here. So if you get any, I mean, if you have any one of these matrices hit it, then you want to create an alert. So I'll go for CPU time. CPU time, I'll say, if it is greater than 20 seconds over the last 5 minutes of sampling, email the co-administrators or put, any other person who might be interested in such thing to be, notified, and you click OK. So what it'll do is, based on all those matrices, whichever is important to you, it will create alerts that can be sent to you in case it, satisfied the condition over there. So you can have something like the response time. Hey, if my website in the last 5 minutes have had a response time of like 5 seconds or 10 seconds, means it's taking 5-10 seconds to respond to the user, maybe something is going wrong. So I need to be notified for it. So this is a very decent monitoring capability to have to know when something is going wrong with your website. And Microsoft's, like you saw, provided so many matrices over there for those alerts. Okay, so these are basically alerts based on metrics, and you can have them based on events as well. I like stuff like if people are looking at a website and certain code like either 500 or 400 404 or something is showing up, I need to be notified. So you can configure those alerts based on performance counter matrices and stuff like that, and it will alert all the people that are interested in that alert. So it's pretty neat as well. And it provides you things on, you know, if you have any specific event, a status based on a period of time, like if you're getting that error for the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it's pretty neat as well. Okay, so that concludes so far for monitoring. Like I mentioned, there's not a whole lot I'm going to spend time on this. We have reached pretty much at the end, and turns out that I'm just below, well, just about 40 minutes of the session, and it's not too bad. So let's go back to our slide here, and I want to conclude this session for Azure websites. I do believe we have covered most of the stuff that are required for the exams as well as in production. So, next I'm going to move on to a different series, and I think I'm going to go about cloud services next. But so far, so good for Azure websites. If you have any questions, always go to the training site or go to the YouTube comments and put questions there so other can see. You can always email me, and based on how much time I have in a day, I might be able to get back to you. Sometimes it takes, a week to get back to some of the emails. I know some people actually emailed me once, then emailed me back and saying, I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't have, emailed you. You might be busy and all that. No need to be sorry. If you need some answers to your questions, YouTube is probably the best place. If not, you can definitely still email me. It takes me a little bit of time to get back on the emails, but I do get back as much as possible. And like I mentioned, if you want all the slides, do email me for now so I can email that, and I will put a link on my YouTube channel as well as my blog to tell you from where the slides will be available in the future. Okay, so as usual, the training site is at cloudranger.net/Azure-training. On YouTube, you are viewing this at Cloud Ranger Network, Twitter at Cloud Ranger Blog, and of course, email at sean@cloudranger.net. So I will see you in the next series. Thank you.